What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel where we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, guys, today we are going to jump back into Uncanny X Men, and we are going to pick up with Uncanny X Men number 120 and 121. Now, these two books right here gives us another two-part story where we basically get the first appearance of the Alpha Flight team. Now, last time we saw Weapon Alpha, aka Vindicator, but he was just by himself. But now we get to meet the rest of the Alpha Flight team because they're back again for the same mission, to get Wolverine. So guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. But let's dive into Uncanny X Men versus Alpha Flight. Here we go. So picking up with the Uncanny X Men series once again, we actually pick up with the Vindicator. Now, Vindicator is also known as Weapon Alpha, but we first saw this character back in Uncanny X Men number 109, when he was trying to capture Wolverine and bring him back to the Canadian government program Alpha Flight. Now, Alpha Flight is basically Canada putting together a team of their own superheroes because Canada felt like they need their own team of superheroes to keep up with America. Now, we do get a quick glance of this superhero team, and we come to find out the members are North Star, his sister Aurora. We also come to find out Sasquatch is part of this team, Shaman, and Snowbird. Now, most of these characters are a bunch of nobodies, but this is your Canadian superhero team known as Alpha Flight that was put together by the Prime Minister in the government program. Now, we then jump over to the X-Men right now, just boarding a plane to get back home from Japan. And really, it's just them kind of hanging out on the plane while trying to get back to New York. The big thing that happens on the plane is that we come to see is that Cyclops and Colleen Wing are basically right now cuddling with one another. And this is Marvel kind of telling us that these two are going to start dating very soon in Marvel Comics. But out of nowhere, the X-Men do get hit with a blizzard while on their plane. And of course, this blizzard makes them change course to land in Canada. Now, this blizzard is not your natural blizzard. This blizzard was made by Shaman, because Shaman is basically a sorcerer who is able to conjure up a blizzard to make the X-Men land in Canada because, hey, the Prime Minister wants Wolverine, and you can't fight for Wolverine on Americans' turf. So why not fight against them on Canada's turf? Because, hey, it's completely legal. Now, the thing is, as soon as the X-Men do land, they are greeted by Vindicator. Now, Vindicator does tell Cyclops and the rest of the X-Men that they are free to go as long as they give over Wolverine. And of course, you have Cyclops kind of like, no. Wolverine is an X-Men. He's part of our team. We are not going to let him go at all. Now, while the X-Men try to get their plane off the ground once again to head back to New York, the plane is not moving because of Sasquatch. Because Sasquatch is right now holding the plane down. But then he throws the plane into a hangar hoping to knock out the X-Men. Now, when Vindicator goes over to the hangar to see if the X-Men are knocked out, he comes to find out the X-Men are missing because the X-Men were able to use the blizzard and storm fog ability to kind of sneak away from Alpha Flight and run into the city. Now, you do have Cyclops tell the X-Men the goal is to split up. If we split up, there's no way that they'll be able to follow us. So let's split up before before Alpha Flight is able to find us. Now, as soon as the X-Men do split up, Nightcrawler is the first X-Men member to get knocked out. He was found just like that by Alpha Flight, and he was taken into custody. Now, the rest of the X-Men are still out there. And we do get a quick glance of Storm, Colleen Wing, and Banshee fighting against the Vindicator because he was able to locate them. But Storm does make quick work with him by just using her powers to conjure up a hurricane inside the building that makes him fly out the window, and he's kind of like, oh crap, she's really powerful, there's no way I can fight against her, and he kind of runs away. Now, for Cyclops and Colossus, they were lucky. They were lucky in the fact that none of the Alpha Flight members came after them at all. But once when Storm, Banshee, Cyclops, Colossus, Misty Knight, and Colleen Wing all kind of regrouping everything, they come to find out that Nightcrawler and Wolverine are still missing. And they're kind of like, where in the world is Nightcrawler and Wolverine? And that is when we come to find out that Wolverine just got knocked out by Sasquatch and has been taken in as well. And so right now, Nightcrawler and Wolverine have been captured by Alpha Flight. And so now it's up to Cyclops, Storm, and Colossus to save the day because Banshee is still sidelined by his injuries. Now, when it comes to Chris Claremont's stories, the ones that are two-part stories, the first part is always kind of heavy dialogue. It's basically a lot of characters talking to one another about some kind of big thing that is happening. But the second half of the story is usually all the action takes place in. And that's what happens in Uncanny X Men number 121. Because in this book right here, you have the X-Men, or the rest of the X-Men, which is Cyclops, Storm, and Colossus, go to this random amusement park, and they do fight against Alpha Flight, and they also find Nightcrawler and Wolverine, and those characters as well join in the fight. And so you do get a full out fight between the X-Men and Alpha Flight. And that's why I say when it comes to Uncanny X-Men number 121, the second half of the story, it is mainly just action. Like, no joke, for 15 pages, you have the X-Men fighting against Alpha Flight. And they're just going back and forth until the X-Men are able to kind of come to a draw with Alpha Flight. But you then have Wolverine stop both sides. Because remember, Alpha Flight is here to just get Wolverine to rejoin the government program Alpha Flight, to rejoin the team. And so you have Wolverine kind of like, stop. I do not want to see my friends get hurt because of my past. Listen, let me go with them. Let me go with them and let me rejoin Alpha Flight. And you guys just go home. Go home because I do not want to see you guys get hurt. And so you have Wolverine actually leave with Alpha Flight. It's kind of like, oh crap, is Wolverine is going to leave the X-Men at this point in Marvel Comics to join Alpha Flight. Because honestly guys, if we look down the road when it comes to Alpha Flight in the later years, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, nobody ever cared for Alpha Flight. And so it's kind of like, if Wolverine actually did join Alpha Flight and they kind of had a different title next to the X-Men title, it will probably give Alpha Flight some kind of fan base. But the thing is, as soon as Alpha Flight drives off with Wolverine, we come to find out that Wolverine snuck away. Because when the X-Men are flying home from New York on their jet, out of nowhere you have Wolverine reappear, and he's kind of like, hey, I snuck away. I was able to get away from them, and I'm not going with them. I'm going home with you guys because we are a family. We are the X-Men. And guys, that wraps up today's video, because the next video, the X-Men finally do arrive back home to the X-Mansion after being on a long adventure in the Savage Land in Japan and Canada. But the X-Men are finally going to be back in New York to the X-Mansion. And so guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I'll see you on the next comic book video. Later guys.